Hey, welcome back to the Weekly Word. Thanks for joining us on this outdoor adventure. I'm down in a deep gorge on Turkey Creek, about 1/10 of a mile or so above the confluence with the Tellico River right down there. It's kind of hard to get up here. We went to check out a place that was supposedly the Kirkland grist mill from back during the Civil War and before. We do have enough historical documentation back from some of the old writings that said the Kirklands did have a grist mill on Lower Turkey Creek Falls, and I think this is Lower Turkey Creek Falls. Now, what I'm not sure about is I have seen another YouTube video about this, kind of what led me to it, and the person who did the YouTube video is pretty adamant that this is where it's at, and they may be right, but they're also pretty adamant about those to the left of the falls. You can see it looks like steps are carved in the rock, and from just watching that video it seemed like yeah they've carved steps in the rock, and they went up to that flat place where maybe there was a building that they got in, and the wheel would have been down here in the pool, maybe had a trough from the upper elevation running into it to turn the wheel. But I can't be adamant about that. The person who made that other YouTube video didn't look to me like they ever left this side of the creek. And we do have video documentation that I, on February 3rd, 2025, crossed this cold creek and got my feet wet because I wanted to check those steps out. And my personal opinion, and another friend who's been down here, we both don't think those are hand-carved steps as much as I'd like for them to be. Because while they look like that in the video, when I got up there, they're vertical. And it would be very difficult to even rock climb up them. I don't think that's what those are. And then added to that, when I look behind this rock that you can't see in the picture here, where the creek has cut that rock in two, the rock on the other side of the creek, which I guess used to be one rock, has those same kind of striations in it. So I think that's natural. But this is supposed to be the site of the old Kirkland grist mill. I don't know, but that's what I'm going with now. I'd like to get on up above the falls and explore a little bit too later on. But if you don't know about the Kirkland Bushwhackers, you can go back in our Weekly Word archives and just search for the Kirkland Bushwhackers, and you can see our video that we made on that 2 or 3 years ago. But this is what produced the Bushwhackers. Sherman and his army was returning from Knoxville, the story goes, and he actually had my great-great-great-grandpa Reed with him in the 40th Illinois as they came back from Knoxville with the Union Army, and they came down through here and they destroyed the Kirkland's grist mill. And then they went on down the river and they destroyed the ironworks at Tellico Plains. I can understand the ironworks because they were making Confederate cannon out of that metal, but I don't know the purpose of destroying the family grist mill other than it's just part of that scorched earth thing that they won't have no cornbread after we've come through here, I guess. But it made the Kirkland boys mad. There were several of them brothers, 4 or 5 or 6 of them, and naturally they didn't have a job to go to after the mill was destroyed. So what did they do? They went to Madisonville and signed up for the Confederate Army. Don't blame them, do you, after that? But after a while, for whatever reason, they got disillusioned with being in the Army. One of them, James Madison Kirkley, he actually switched sides and fought for the Union a little while, and that's why he got called a Blue Jim for the rest of his life. But eventually, they all just got disillusioned with the war and the Army, which a lot of people did in East Tennessee mountains. East Tennessee mountains at one time voted like 80-something% to stay with the Union, but the flat plantation lands of Middle Tennessee and West Tennessee voted us out into secession, voted us out of the Union. So a lot of people over here, the young mountain boys, they went and fought because they were made to go and fight, not because they really had any real conviction about anything, and that's why you read a lot of things about they'd fight for one side, then they'd go to the other side and fight for a while, like Jim Kirkland did. But after the Kirklands got disillusioned with being in the military, they just all got back together and became a bunch of outlaws and they was murdering and thieving all in these Tellico mountains here and cross over to Robbinsville. And you go back and you think, well, wonder what their lives would have been like if the Army hadn't came in here and destroyed their grist mill. You know, that was a turning point for their life. Maybe they'd been out of the war to that point. Maybe they would have just continued to be out of the war. But they got forced into it. And the way we treat people can have ramifications for the rest of their lives, can't it? And that's why the Bible says, be kind to one another. Be ye kind to one another. Because if you treat people mean, they'll end up treating somebody else mean a lot of times. If you raise your children not treating them kind, and then they'll grow up to be people that don't treat people kind. So God knew what he was doing when he said, in essence, if you want a better world to live in, it starts right in here, and you be kind to one another. And don't matter how they treat you back, he still said, you be kind to others. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, not necessarily as they do unto you. So remember that. Be kind to one another. We're going to explore around here a little bit more and see if we can find any more evidence at all that this was the actual site of the Kirkland's grist mill. See you next time.